but we can't get to the point where we look at someone and assign a meaning as to why I'm not successful. In life, you're either green and you're growing, or you're ripe and you're rotting. Nothing stays the same.
Welcome to Start With a Win, where we unpack leadership, personal growth and development, and how to build a better business. Let's go.
Coming to you from Area 15 Ventures and Start With a Win headquarters, it's Adam Contos with Start With a Win. Let me ask you this. What would you do if fear wasn't in your way? If you could step straight into uncertainty and own it? We're going there with someone who lives that message every single day, Rome Madison. Rome is a powerhouse speaker, author, and futurist who helps people crush self-doubt, face chaos head-on, and build the confidence to chase bold goals. He's led major startups, advised top executives, and even brought his insight to global stages like CES, all while helping others unlock their everyday superstar. We're diving into what it really means to lead fearlessly, think bigger, and turn challenges into fuel. Rome Madison, welcome to Start With a Win.
Adam, it's a pleasure and a privilege to be here, man. Thanks for all you're doing, and I really appreciate the opportunity to rock with you this morning.
Thanks. Well, I'm excited about today. You're a big coach, consultant, author in, sales, leadership, business growth and development, things like that. So we've got a lot of fun things we can jump into here, being early on in 2026. And a lot of people have some things they need to reflect on, I think, as a result of that. So let's dive right into this. We've been through a lot of, fear and chaos. And I think most of that is in everybody's heads, the fear, doubt, and overwhelm that just happens on a daily basis in business. Let's jump into the first steps leaders should take when people are feeling uncertain. You come from the space of sales. You wrote a great sales book, but you have to get people over themselves in order to find success. So take us through, how do we deal with fear, doubt, and overwhelm?
Well, that's a big one. I do have a kind of a framework that I work from, and my subject matter is confidence. And confidence from not only an individual perspective, but also an organizational perspective. And I talk to sales leaders and executives around not only how you activate your own personal power, but how you use that personal power to inspire confidence in others and the difference it makes in your organization. But the grounding place, and this may be a little counterintuitive to a lot of folks out there, is really humility. Okay. It is self-acceptance. You have to believe that you are enough. You have to believe that, we look at our fingerprints here, like we have 10 fingerprints. I don't know if you listen to this on audio, you might not be able to see my fingers waving in front of my face, but every single one of us, think about this, Adam, every single one of us has 10 fingerprints that have never existed in the world before. I mean, what's the world population, right? Out of all of those things, all these people, you can travel the world, touch a dish, touch a cup, touch a door, and leave your fingerprint. And that is because you were meant to make your mark in this world. So a lot of leaders, a lot of people get caught up in fear, anxiety about things that are unknown. They get overwhelmed about not being the individual who can accomplish those dreams and those goals. They don't necessarily believe it with integrity today. But where you have to ground yourself on a daily basis is that I am enough, that I am perfectly and wonderfully made. One of the greatest college coaches, we can say the greatest, Nick Saban.
Right.
He used to say this all the time when sports reporters would write about how great his teams were at the University of Alabama. And he told his team, that's rat poison. Don't read your own press. Where you have to ground yourself is whether you've had great achievements or not. And we can talk about it, imposter syndrome in a minute. That's a big one for high achievers and many folks that are out there who have things. But really every day you have to ground yourself in the fact that you are positioned exactly where you need to be to accomplish anything you need to. And if you can start there and accept that, it takes your mind off of what's not and focuses on what is. And that's where we start with building our confidence, activating our personal power, and moving beyond your fears and your anxieties.
I love that. I mean, it's kind of just the action of acceptance, I suppose.
It is. out of all the 5 minutes I've been talking at him, like that statement is probably the arrow through the heart. It really is around accepting yourself, not putting yourselves, matching yourselves. Now we do this, we're humans, right? We have certain people that we notch ourselves in terms of, our bar of comparison and how we want to grow and achieve things in life. That's natural. But we can't get to the point where we look at someone and assign a meaning as to why I'm not successful. And that's the important thing to remember. Focus on you. Yes, grow, be aware of your strengths, weaknesses, fears, anxieties, and all those things. But you got to come back to center, that you are perfect as God intended you to be. And that positions you to activate your personal power to do anything you want to do.
I like that. And I want to unpack this a little bit more, because you mentioned it a couple times, and that's grow. Because a lot of people are like, okay, good enough is good enough, and I'm there, I'm good enough. But it seems like if you're not trying to grow, and I have above me here, stay hungry, stay humble. You got to stay hungry, and we have to continue to grow, or we just get worse. We deteriorate over life if we're not trying to get better. Tell me, how do you help, or what advice do you have for people who are like, all right, yeah, I'm great, but they're not, maybe they're 20 or 30 pounds overweight. That happened, the number one New Year's resolution, or maybe they're not willing to make the extra prospecting phone calls, or, work a little bit harder on their closing dialogues or something like that. How do we continue to grow and still accept ourselves, good enough right now, but not good enough tomorrow? How do we get that in our heads?
Well, that acceptance piece goes into understanding, drawing awareness to your comfort zone, right?
Right.
More specifically, the great speaker, Jim Rohn. I don't know if anybody's old enough to know.
I know all about Jim Rohn. Yes.
But I love Jim Rohn. He's one of my favorite speakers. And I always quote what he said about growth. He says, in life, you're either green and you're growing, or you're ripe and you're rotting. Nothing stays the same. Every cell in our body is evolving. The old cells that are outlived their usefulness die off because new cells come and regenerate you to give you life on a new day. If that's true on our molecular level, the very DNA of our being, if that's true in the inherent making of us, then that has to be true in how we approach life and how we grow through life. Every day, and you've got to think about this, if you want to start with a win, if you do today what others don't, you'll have tomorrow what others won't. If you think that you're good, and I think that good is the enemy of great, that you resting on your laurels, that you're reading your press, that you're kicking your feet up, and you're not continuing to some way challenge yourself to recognize what your comfort zone is and to shake things up, even in a workout, right? Even people who are fit, after a certain point, your body will get resistant to the workout that you're doing, and you have to change things up to shock your system into growth. That is just a fact of life. That is how the universe works. And if you don't accept that, you will soon be passed up by others.
I like that. It sounds like you have a little Les Brown influence in there too.
Listen, man, I'm a keynote speaker. I'm a fan of speakers. I've got quips and quotes, for days. I think I got my own too sometimes. But I'll tell you, it's those sound bites that keep you moving. I mean, The reason why you have that in the background, stay hungry, stay humble, is because we need these reminders. Because left to our own devices, we just get numb, right? In the world that we live in, we can get locked into, social media, locked into our things, our luxuries, our creature comforts in life. And it just lulls you to sleep. It'll lull you to sleep. And so our challenge in life is to continue to stay in a pattern of growth, to challenge ourselves, to keep our minds and our cells alive, because that's when cancer happens. The old cells don't die, and they just keep growing and growing and growing. You have to know when things have outlived their usefulness in your habits, your daily patterns, the things that you listen to, even the people that you're around. You have to stay in a constant state of growth. if you want to continue to break new boundaries and do things. Now, if you don't, that's fine. Now, I would imagine that the people listening to your podcast aren't of that ilk. And I'm not here to judge those who don't. But for those who really want to win, who really want to set out at the beginning of this year and set themselves on a course for victory, that's important for us.
What do you think is most important for people to realize when they're laying out that plan for the year and doing like quarterly reviews or even monthly reviews, things like that? I mean, what's some good mindset to have about that? Because I know you talk a lot about vulnerability and humility, things like that. I mean, obviously that's key to it, but how do we kick ourselves in the rear when we really need to in order to take the action to accomplish those things?
So there's a few things there. The first thing is when we set our goals out, we have to understand that this is it is a journey, right? The Super Bowl winner, and we're at the beginning of the year, the NFL playoffs are, I'm an athlete, right? So the Super Bowl winner is never who the favorite is usually, right?
Right.
When the start of the playoffs happened, who'd have thought Patrick Mahomes wouldn't be in the playoffs? Right?
Yeah. I'm a Broncos person. So,
there you go.
You had your time, Patrick. Thank you.
Okay. So that's a good analogy. And I don't know how many folks are out there NFL fans, but if you look at this, okay, I'm going to get deep in some football because I'm an athlete there, Adam. If you look at Patrick Mahomes' division, right? Patrick Mahomes won a division, I don't know, the last 8 years.
Yeah. The guy's a machine.
He's a machine. Who's to think that someone's going to unseat them with a second-year quarterback and a new head coach? I mean, This is what I mean by making sure that you have people around you that sharpen you, that challenge you, that will speak to you in a way that you need to hear, not what you want to hear. And so back to the how we stay on track, it's a journey. You can't say that who I am today, I'm the person who can do that. You have to see the future state of yourself. And the one question that I give executives, team leaders, entrepreneurs is, how would the person I would like to be do the things that I need to do today? By asking that question, you put yourself in the future mindset of the person that you need to grow into be to accomplish the things that you need to accomplish. You may not be that person today. There's some growth that needs to take place. There's some maturity that needs to take place. There's some battles that you need to be in, that you need to take losses in, because that's where you will learn the most about yourself. But if you continue to ask that question on a daily basis, as you set your goals, knowing that this is a journey throughout the year, continue to ask yourself that question so you can see yourself more clearly. And as you see yourself doing those things that you're not yet doing today, having the accomplishments that you don't yet have today, you will grow into that person and start to think, walk, and talk like that person, and the universe will respond to you.
I love that. It takes me back to this coaching question that I've been asked, and I've asked myself, and that's, what needs to occur, and then what needs to happen today to help that occur. And, life is a daily journey. It's not a, weekly, monthly, quarterly, or annual situation, which is why, frankly, I'm not a huge fan of annual goals. I like short-term goals, and those micro wins to make the macro wins. So that's really interesting. But people are going to face failures in this. They're going to fail at things. Say, you have an exercise plan, and let's say you get a cold, or you go get your knee worked on or something like that, and you can't work at achieving these goals. So how do we get over our failures in order to help actually get to those successes? Do you have any recommendations? Because a lot of times failures are just an off-ramp for people and they never get back on.
It is. Once you set the goal, or once you set out on the course of a journey, you've got, again, ground ourselves in acceptance. You've got to accept that failure is just a part of it.
Yeah.
Now there's small failures and there's big failures. There's failures that you can get over quickly, and there's failures that really hurt. Right. It's all a part of the journey, and it feeds into making you the person that you need to be to accomplish that big vision or that dream that you've got. It's just a part of it. So you accept the failures because failure is not final. Failure is merely feedback on your journey.
That's good. Failure is not final. Failure is feedback. I really like that one. All right. Well, in your experience, we've talked a little bit about goal setting and achievement and things like that, but people start lying to themselves about certain things in life. What are the biggest lies that you see people telling themselves, both in business or personally, when it comes to trying achieving?
Adam, that's a great question. So maybe a couple of here. There's two sides of a coin. One lie is that I am not good enough, right? And what we believe, what we think, and thoughts are just like bubbles, right? They appear in our head, but we have a choice of what we seize onto. And so when we start that negative self-talk, those are all lies, because from your inception in this world, you've been an achiever, you've been growing, you've been overcoming. Winning, conquering is in your very DNA, no matter what your plight in life is. So you have an opportunity to grow and overcome every single day. And when you start to talk to yourself, that negative self-talk, I guess I'll put it like this. It is a deposit in your spirit. Okay. Just like a bank, when you put dollars in the bank, hopefully those dollars will stay there or grow. Let's say it's a bank with interest. But you want to make deposits of power in your spirit. So the lies that you tell yourself around the negativity, around things like that, I mean, we know that's fear, false evidence appearing real. But another lie that people tell themselves is that I've arrived, that I'm there because of that accomplishment, because of the material things, the money that I make, the status, the respect that I get today. And they don't continue to work. And they forget the things that got them there won't be the things that will keep them there. And so those are two sides of the same coin, and the power is in the middle, right? Not to get all biblical on you, but my favorite book says, if you are faithful and responsible for small things, I'll make you ruler over many. It's the same mindset. It's the same state of our being that needs to be when we start out. And when we get those wins, we don't forget that. Now, the growth comes in our skills, our ability, our maturity, because we're going to be responsible for a lot more things. But in the center of us, we have to stay connected and grounding ourselves in self-acceptance and gratitude every day to understand that you are not your things. You are not your title. You are not your income. You are a person who's meant to make an impact in the world in the time that you live. And if you ground yourself in that state of gratitude, in self-acceptance, you stop listening to the lies, the thought bubbles that come in that you seize onto, and you can ground yourself in a way that you can be used as a vessel for the maximum good for those around you.
That's an amazing definition of that. And you had mentioned imposter syndrome earlier. And obviously that's a lot of what you're talking about right now is that, should I be here? Am I the right one? Things of that nature. But you're also giving us very good perspective on how to overcome that with confidence and, work our way into it. Speaking of confidence, let me ask you this. So we have confidence and we have ego. Break those apart for us, because I think people confuse ego for confidence sometimes when we need to understand the difference. So tell us about that.
Adam, I gotta tell you, man, this is the best conversation I've had in a long time.
Thank you.
I really appreciate it. So okay. So keep me honest here. So ego. Everyone has ego.
Right.
Ego is not necessarily bad.
Correct.
Okay. You have an ego problem.
There we go.
When you don't allow people to speak into your life. Now, this is the core of confidence. So our ego won't allow us to receive information from certain people because we don't feel that they can give us anything of value just based off of whatever, comparing ourselves to them, their status versus our status, their title versus our title, how they look, how they live versus how we live. That's ego problem.
Right.
You can also have, egomania, where you believe that your view of the world is the only view of the world that should exist. And you are so egotistical that you try to push your view of the world. And we all live life as an N of one, by the way, right? No one's having my experience. I'm the only one having my experience. So the confidence comes in with understanding that people have value. And that's what we say when we ground ourselves in acceptance, right? And we create that moment of humility in ourselves every day. We realize as valuable as we are is as valuable as other people are. And you can learn something from anybody if you have the right heart and state of mind. So confidence is saying that I'm willing to listen to you. And you know what? I can take, a few chunks of meat and throw away the bones. I can listen to you long enough to know that you're a damn fool. Or I can listen to you and say, wow, you've got some really deep wisdom, right? That I might be able to benefit from, a recommendation, a quote, an experience that someone has had. That's confidence. Knowing that you are competent and accepting of yourself, that you're not threatened by outside information, individuals, and you can get better if you put yourself in that state of self-acceptance and build your confidence that you're not threatened by anyone. You will take what you need and keep it moving because it builds you.
I love this. I mean, so I like to summarize in my head here, and here's what Rome is telling me, that we need to have ego, but confidence is ego with humility.
Let me put this in. What's the phrase I want to use here? So it is humility conditions your spirit to listen.
Yes.
Right. Humility keeps your ego in check.
Yes.
Right. So we all need to build that true center of confidence. And I'm not here to say that you are going to be confident in all things at all times. Just as, Adam, we've been talking about, this is a daily battle. The journey that we're talking about of the visions that we have, the goals that we have, you're right. It really is a daily battle. So it's okay to have, big overarching goals of where you want to go because those are your North Stars. But you got to break that down into quarters, segments, weeks, days, hours. You have to constantly be honest with yourself about, are you growing or are you stagnant or are you shrinking?
I love it. That's awesome. I mean, this has been a really deep conversation and a very, I know
I wasn't expecting that, Adam. I got to tell you, you have a great podcast, but I got to tell you, this is a great conversation.
Thank
I appreciate
you. I want to unpack things that people can walk away with and go, I can use that today. And I think we've hit a lot of gold here today. You've talked about in the past, you're growing up in a pig farm and things like that and finding gold where no one notices it. And, you have a lot of great wisdom in the things that you've put out. So keep doing that, by the way. Thank you for doing that and sharing your thoughts and direction to everybody. By the way, you're a great storyteller as well, which I think is, that's a huge, huge talent. So, Rome, this has been a fantastic conversation with you. Where can people find you online if they want to learn more about you?
Well, you can go to romemadison.com, and from there you can connect with me on all of my social media platforms. But for those who are listening still to the podcast, I want you to go to iwantmorenow.com. And for there, I've got 2 books for you. One is an audiobook called Everyday Star Power, the 12-Step Confidence Algorithm. It is a process every day to instill that, to enact that personal power, to be assertive, to expand our influence, to become more influential. The second book is Claim Your Star Power. And Claim Your Star Power is my memoir that I wrote when I first started speaking and coaching. And when we talk about imposter syndrome and growing up on a pig farm, that is my story. I talk about imposter syndrome because I know it very well. I talk about confidence and how to activate your confidence and stay in an energy state that is influential and that is powerful, because I've had to work on that myself. Today I'm fortunate to have a consulting firm for the life science industry, and that is, genetic testing, that is cancer treatment. I've been in that field for over 2 decades. And now I help early to mid-stage companies launch and enter the market, create, leadership, key opinion leadership in their field or their product segment. But I don't have a PhD. I don't have an MD. I don't have a medical background. I'm self-taught. And, Claim Your Star Power is really all about that. The 4 ways that you can, step into your greatness and activate your star power to do things, quite frankly, that you might not be able to imagine today. So iwantmorenow.com, go there and get those books, audiobooks, and I think it'll serve you well.
Awesome. And make sure you check out Rome at romemadison.com. Rome, this has been a very insightful conversation. I love how deep we dove into, this human psyche of success and growth and things of that nature. I do have a question I ask all the great leaders on the show, and that's, how do you start your day with a win?
So, I might sound like a broken record, but I start my day with a win, with a moment of silence. If you're like me, my phone is my alarm clock, right? And we have to guard against that temptation to grab the phone, and you got notifications already from your favorite news sources, sports, politics, things that upset you. You've got to resist the urge to allow those things to get in your mind and your spirit from the beginning of the day. And I take that moment to have peace and gratitude, to really be thankful for another day, because quite frankly, this day is not promised. And so when I take that moment of silence and have that moment of gratitude, I usually try to ask myself that daily question: how would the person that I would like to be do the things that I've got to do today? And I know I'm on the right track, and I've started with a win because that person would first give thanks and center himself and not let anything else come into my mind and my spirit to affect my energy to give to those things that I want to do today.
Amazing answer. And I'll tell you that is a winning way to start the day. That's for sure. So thanks for sharing that with us. Rome Madison, we appreciate all that you do. You've enlightened us quite a bit today. Keep going after that cancer research, my friend. That's God's calling right there. You're saving lives, brother. So anyhow, we appreciate what you do, and thanks for starting with a win.
Adam, it's a great privilege. Thank you so much.